All right, Steeler fans, second half, it's time. I don't know. Maybe I do like this segment. I didn't like it last week, but it turns out I did. Dave, what over under? No, I said I hated this segment. You're like, you should like it. You were 4 out of 5 the previous week. I
Yeah.
can't remember how I did last week, so I'm not sure if I
Okay.
love it or hate it.
Well, I have to
Over
say
under.
this. Jefferson Bartholomew Hartman.
I didn't do
You
it.
can do pretty good picking some lines. Because when you picked the Steelers rushing yards, where we all went over, you had the line at 155.5.
Correct.
Now the Steelers went over that. Then Najee Harris lost a yard. Then Jaylen Warren lost a yard. We were still over that. But the 3 times of taking a knee made it the under. That's how close you were on that line. Because it was 153 and you said 155.5. And we all went over, so we were all wrong on that one. But this week, Jeff, there was one that you were the only one that got right, and that was sacks surrendered. You went under, Brian and I both went over. And we all got the Kenny Pickett passing yards where we went over 165. Mm-hmm. So, but Jeff, those were the only 2 you got. I got 3 because I also got Pickens yards. I was the only one who took the under. And Freiermuth yards. Brian and I both took the over. Jeff took the under. That was the one. But I went ahead and gave Brian the other point of he said that the Steelers, they would have over 400 yards. That was the bonus one. We didn't all pick the same thing. He deserves that point for calling that. So Brian got 3. I got 3. Jeff got 2. That means the overall scores are I'm at 28, Jeff's at 25, and Brian is at 20.
All right. Within striking distance still. That's fine. Okay. Some similar.
Good job on that one, Dad, with that 400. That was
for sure.
Thank you.
So some similar lines here in terms of what we're going to be talking about, and the numbers are going to be different after last week. So let's talk about same first one is Pittsburgh team rushing yards. So how much they rush for as a team. So Arizona doesn't do a great job stopping the run. So we're up in the ante here. I've got the line at 175.5. So 175.5 Steelers rushing yards as a team. Brian, what do you think?
I'm going to go slightly under.
Okay. What about you, Dave?
I think they're going to come close, but
okay.
That's hard. That you know what?
That's what she said.
Let's hope
it's unfortunately I'm supposed to be sitting in the rain, and the Cardinals are not good against the run. Jeff, you're gonna make me do it. I'm gonna take a flyer. I'm gonna go west, and I'm gonna go over.
Hell, I'm going over too. This is one of those games. If it's raining, shoot, run it down their throat till they prove they stop it. Okay, so I think this is an over.
Let their safeties make all the tackles,
which makes the next one a little bit more dicey, especially if they're calling for rain. I didn't know that until now. But Kenny Pickett passing yards, I've got the line at 223.5. 223.5. So it's you got to think about how you view this game playing out. If it's a run game, is he going to have that many passing yards? Brian, what do you think?
I'm actually going to say slightly over.
Okay. So you went under on the passing yards and over, or under on the rushing yards, over on the passing yards. Interesting.
Yeah, and I'm trying to anticipate. I need it's December. I've got to pick stuff up. Got to gain some ground.
Okay. Dave, what do you think?
And I'm going the exact opposite of that because I can't take both overs. So I'm going to go slightly under. I think Kenny's going to get the job done. My thing is, I wouldn't be shocked if they just don't throw it nearly as much.
Yeah.
They can get a lead. They just keep running it.
I'm trending in the same direction, Dave. I've got the under with Kenny. Could they have another offensive explosion and go for over 400 and both of these are the over? Yeah, they could. Just don't see it happening.
Yeah.
So let's go to the next one with Deontay Johnson targets. How many times is the ball going to be thrown in his direction? I've got this line at 6.5. I don't know. Brian, what do you think?
I'm going to say over.
Okay. I don't even know how many he had last week. I was factoring in the.
That's a good question.
I have that here, I think on one of these tabs.
I'm trying to remember.
It was around 7, I thought.
Yeah.
He hasn't gotten double-digit targets in a
No.
while.
I'm
Here we go. I've got it here. He had 8 last week.
okay. Oh, yep.
So
Sean
6.5
Manahan
is
said that in
still the
live
line.
chat. Yep. 6.5. You know what? Even though I think they might not be, they may not throw it as much. I'm going to go over. Think maybe he can get 7, just because it seems to make sense.
I'm going over as well. I think it's more. I'm thinking 7. Wouldn't be shocked if it's 8. Let's go with Pittsburgh Steelers sacking one Mr. Kyler Murray. I've got that line at 3.5. Brian, thoughts?
I'm going under.
Under?
I see him evading pressure.
Okay. Dave, 3.5.
I'm going over, baby. If the Steelers could get a lead and I really would love to see, is this the game they finally play with the lead? And then you can say, oh, they're going to have to pass. All the pass rush could just go after them, things like that. If that's the way it goes, I think they can get to 4. So let's go over.
So I wrote these numbers down. I was waiting for my guest for Behind Enemy Lines for Let's Ride on Friday morning. And so I was just writing these down before I even talked with him. So I had this line written before I spoke with this Cardinals fan. And after talking with him, I was thinking under. I'm taking over. He talked about the offensive line, especially the interior, just really struggling. It makes me think that Larry Ogunjobi, Keanu Benton, if Montravius Adams comes back, Cam Hayward, they could be the ones that are really putting the pressure on Murray from the inside, which could equate to big games for Watt and Highsmith on the outside. Might run into some of those. He did talk about Kyler Murray leaving clean pockets on occasion. Well, we'll see. I'm going to take the over on that 3.5. Last one here. Well, Pat Freiermuth, he had a career day. First time over 100 yards in his NFL career. I don't have his yards number nearly that high, though. I've got 65.5 for Pat Freiermuth this week. Brian, what do you think?
I'm going slightly under this week. I think he'll be keyed on a little bit more.
All right. Dave?
You know what? I think he's going to be the guy again. I'm going to go over, even though I went under with the total yards.
I'm going to go over as well. I think that, again, talking to this Cardinals guy, get a little inside intel. He's like, the inside linebackers aren't very good. The safeties are better. Play action, if they're going to load the box, should open up Pat Freiermuth for play action. They did it last week. I think they're going to do it again. Pat Freiermuth, 65.5. I will take the over. So there you go.
Jeff, you have some bad news.
What, are we all the same?
No, you can't make up any ground this week. You and I have the exact same.
Is that what I was going to say? Are we all the same?
But Brian is different on 4 to 5. So either Brian's going to catch up or Brian's going to fall farther behind.
I quit trying to anticipate, though.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get to our prediction segment here, and that is where we look at the line, we look at the total, and we give our score prediction for the game. The current line that I have in front of me is Pittsburgh Steelers giving 5.5 at home with a total of 41. Total of 41, which is an increase from the 34.5 last week. So, Brian, what is your prediction? How do you see this going?
All right. This game, for me, it seems dangerous at first because it's Kyler Murray. But now that Minka's back, I feel a whole lot better. I think that this is going to be a birthday gift to me. So I am going to go ahead and I'm going to say that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to eclipse 30 points.
Ooh.
And what's the over-under again?
The over-under is 41 is the total. Total was 41.
My final score is 30-17, so I'm going to have to go with the over.
All right. Heck, I hope you're right. I love it. What is your birthday? Your birthday is not this weekend, is it?
It's Sunday.
It's Sunday.
It is Sunday. Your birthday is Sunday. Okay.
Yes. So it's and I don't think I have ever watched them on my birthday win. Birthday weekend, yes.
Oh, why didn't you ask me that? I could
Why
look that up for you.
Okay. I know when I turned 18, they lost in the snow to the Oilers. And then the other 2 times where it could have been a Sunday, It was the Ryan Shazier game was on Monday night, December 4th. So that was it was the bad after birthday there, but they won, but they lost Shazier.
You go watch.
So
Never mind.
So you got to look that up. December 3rd. Well, and I was born in 71, so I mean it could have happened in days when I wasn't paying as much attention.
Okay, no, that's good to know. We'll be sure to wish you happy birthday on the post game show. Dave, what's your prediction?
My prediction is people are starting to really believe in the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. My thing is, if you listen to Stat Geek this morning, I'm really starting to believe in the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, because if you look at it, we are at the 2/3 mark of the season, not in the games of the season. 18-week season, first 6 weeks, second 6 weeks, third 6 weeks. We're getting into the third 6 weeks. I went back and and looked at the Steelers defense just in the second 6 weeks compared to the first 6 weeks. If you didn't catch that, go back and check that out. But man, are they a team on the rise. I mean, they were not good with so many things on defense that there's been trying to catch up with them throughout the rest of the season. That's why they're still not ranked very high. The only one that they're really been able to make a big dent with is point surrender. And the Steelers don't give up a lot of points. So I'm a believer in the defense in this game as much as anything. Therefore, I am taking the under, because I'm having the Pittsburgh Steelers being victorious 27-9.
Oh my gosh, I would freaking love that. That would be a
that'd be
game
nice.
where Dave would be in the stands, just relaxing a little bit, watching the game, enjoying it. I'd be able to sit on my couch and not feel like I'm having a heart attack while watching these idiots every week. Dave, I've got the Pittsburgh score, same with you. And I actually mirrored my pick from last week. There's something about 27-17. I think it's going to happen. I think the Steelers streak of keeping them off 20, which is what now, Dave? 7 games? Is it 7 games in a row the Steelers defense has not surrendered more than 20 points in a game?
Yeah, it's since they played the Ravens. I mean, they gave up 20 against Jacksonville. So after the first 4. So yeah, it's been 7 games in a row. They gave up 20 points once, and they've been under 20 at all the rest of them.
Yeah. That streak continues. I got the Steelers 27-17, and I hope they hit 30, Brian, and I hope they hold them to 9. Let's have 30-9. I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah, I would love that score. Let's go with Brian's Steelers score and my Cardinals score.
There you go.
Jeff,
there you go.
you just land in the middle.
Hey, I got to throw something in.
Sure.
Because I was looking up December 3rd, and I wasn't able to find that stuff, but I found something significant to the Cardinals and the Steelers on December 3rd, which they're playing on December 3rd, 1944, the Card Pits dissolved. So it was the end of the merger.
That's hysterical. The Card Pits. What a stupid name. Who came up with that? Anyways. All right. Happy birthday to Mark Tobin he's in the live chat, and Timothy Lyons, who's actually a Bengals guy, but he joins and watches some of our stuff. Happy
as
birthday
long
to
as
y'all
he's
there.
cool, you know that.
Yeah.
You know the role.
We'll take
He is.
anybody from any team as long as you're knowledgeable and respectful.
Hey, everybody
Bengals
in the
fans,
live chat.
We have bounced many Bengals fans from our live chat, just so we're clear.
Yeah.
Hey, we've got a rule here, and this has been my rule for a long time. Anybody's allowed in our living room, just don't pee on our couch.
Yes. All right, good stuff. Let's do some trivia. Brian, you good? You ready?
Yeah, I've got an interesting one here. There's about 5 or 6 linebackers besides, and I'm not counting Mr. Marcus Golden here because it's the other way around. But we always talk about the Cardinals being Pittsburgh West.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring up some linebackers here, and I want you to rank these guys 1 to 6 on who had the most sacks as a Cardinal after leaving the Steelers. And I know somebody on YouTube gave me crap for my old man trivia for like, quit doing this old history. I'm like, gosh, it's the 80s. Come on.
The YouTube comments, my goodness. We had one Tuesday night that said the Steelers didn't look any different than this week than they did. The offense didn't look any better than the week before. I mean, come on.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and give you these names, and they're significant names. Okay. We are going to start with Lamar Woodley, Clark Higgins, Cassius Marsh, the Pokemon King. Cassius Marsh, Larry Foote, Joey Porter, and I'm missing one there. I said Larry Foote, Porter, Woodley, Higgins, and Marsh. And I'm sorry, it's a player, Tyrone Stowe.
So you want the most sacks out of all those, just while they were in Arizona?
Yes, as a Cardinal. Who had the most sacks?
Is it kind of surprising, because I have an inkling that it's Larry Foote, because I think he played the best when he was there. I don't think Lamar Woodley played well there.
Woodley was only there one season, right? And I don't think he did very good. He might have had like one sack.
Foote was only there one season.
Foote was only there 1 year?
Really? I was thinking he was there longer.
Maybe I'm wrong then.
Well, let me look it up.
No, you're probably right, Brian.
I didn't get a chance to write this down, but are you going with Larry Foote though? Because it's possible.
He's only there for a year.
I know Cassius Marsh was only there for 1 year, I believe, also.
I'll go Joey Porter.
Porter's best years were in Miami.
Yeah.
When he left Pittsburgh.
Porter. Well, let's start with Larry Foote. Larry Foote was only there one season, and he ended up with 2 sacks.
Okay.
Lamar Woodley. We're going to go ahead and give you Lamar Woodley here, because he was only there for 1 season.
That's what I thought.
And a lot of these guys ended their careers. Most of these guys ended their careers in Arizona. It's like Arizona said, hey, we'll pick up this guy. And oops, yeah, he's done. Lamar Woodley had 1 sack.
Okay.
Cassius Marsh was there, I believe, for 1 year. And would you believe it? He had better sack total than those 2 guys that I just mentioned. And he had 2.5. And that was, once again, I believe that was, now that wasn't his last season. That was actually before he played for the Steelers. So he might not count as much, but we'll count him in there because he played for every single team. But 1 season, actually, it was a half season, because he played with Arizona and Seattle in 2019, and he still had 2.5 sacks for that team. Tyrone Stowe. Now, a lot of you don't remember Tyrone Stowe. He played for the Steelers in the mid-90s. And the late 80s, mid-90s, they were still the Phoenix Cardinals back then. And that's the oldest we're going to go here. So that's not too bad. Once again, drafted by the Steelers, 87 to 90, then 91 to 93. He was I believe he was more of a middle linebacker. But he played for Phoenix for 3 seasons, and he ended up with 1.5 sacks there. So the big guy. Now let's talk about Joey Porter. Joey Porter had 5.5 sacks. Clark Higgins had 14 as an Arizona Cardinal.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Clark Higgins is your answer.
How many years was he with the Cardinals, Higgins?
If I'm not mistaken, 3, but I'm going to go ahead and let you know in just a moment. Let me get back to that. And then Porter was there for 2. I will tell you, yeah, Porter was there from 2010 to 2011.
Okay, so
and then
all right,
Clark
I just looked up Higgins. He was there 4 years.
4 years.
Had 14 sacks. Okay. Yeah. So
what I said 3. Okay.
Okay, it was 4, but that wasn't his last stop. He did play the next season in San Francisco.
Would you say that Clark Higgins is one of the more underrated Steelers? May you rest in peace, by the way.
I would say, yeah. Did we lose Jeff?
What was the question, Brian?
Would you say that?
Yeah.
Would you say that that Clark Higgins is one of the more underrated Steelers in the last 10, 20 years?
No, I'd still say someone like Aaron Smith is more underrated than he is, and more worthwhile, more worthy of praise, I guess. May he rest in peace, by the way, Clark Higgins.
Yeah, I mean that's not a slight.
No, it's not. But he's definitely up there. He's not the most. Of that era, it's Aaron Smith. He's like the most underrated Steeler, in my opinion.
You know how many sacks he had for the Steelers?
How many years did he play?
I do.
1,
I've
2,
looked
3,
at him up.
4, 5, 6, 7,
He
8.
played 8, but he didn't really become a starter until year 5.
Right. I'm gonna say like 10 and a half.
Triple that, almost.
Holy cow, he had 30 sacks?
32 and a half. In 2002, he had 6.5. He only started 1 game.
And he had 9 in 2005.
In 2005, yep.
And
That's Super Bowl year. He had 9 sacks.
He and Peasy were college teammates, I believe, at Colorado State.
Yeah. Yeah, they were. That's amazing to me.
He was much better than people give him credit for on a defense that won a Super Bowl, because everyone just remembers Porter because he was the mouth.
Yeah.
And Higgins was not. He was just I show up and I do my job. He had clutch sacks in that playoff run.
And he wasn't quiet, but he was just, I mean, when you have a guy like Peasy on that team, he just overshadows everybody. This guy was known as having one of the best physiques for that mid 2000s team. I mean, he was a chiseled guy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, there you go. There's a lot
good.
about Clark Higgins. I love it. He was a special player to me. I was crushed when, I know all of us were, when we lost him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Dave, you're up.
All right, mine not nearly as involved, but the Pittsburgh Steelers have they're in the midst of a 4-game streak of having 150 rushing yards or more. 4 games. There's only been one other streak of that many games this season. And it was actually the Bears earlier this season. They had 4. So they have a chance to push it to 5. But when's the last time the Steelers had a 4-game streak of 150 rushing yards?
I'm going to guess it was like that Le'Veon Bell era of like.
I was thinking I was trying to remember if I did ask this question before.
Like 2015, or maybe even like that 2015-2017 range. I'm thinking.
Brian?
That's not bad, Jeff. Let me go back to the Willie Parker, Bettis, and Deuce Staley era. So let's say about 2005.
Well, if it was closest without going over, you'd both be gone, unless depending on which way you're looking over. But Brian was very close. It's actually 2004. Ben's rookie season, they had a 4-game streak of going over 150 yards. 2 of those games were over 200 yards. One of them was over 250 yards. Do you guys remember what the games were?
The 4 games in 04?
Yep.
That they went over 150 yards.
Yep.
You know what? I'm going to let me jump in real quick, Jeff, because
go ahead, because I could just randomly guess games from that year, but I don't think I'd string together 4 in a row.
I have a feeling we're going to say October 31st and November 7th are involved in that.
Those were the 2 that were over 200 yards.
That's Patriots and Eagles.
Yes, yep. And I swear to you, I'm not looking that up because I was at those games and they were both 2 undefeated teams.
Yeah,
and the Pittsburgh beat them.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, those were vivid to me because the Steelers, they had to take on the undefeated Patriots, beat them. Yeah. What was that,
Do you
Jeff?
remember that? When Hines Ward scored the touchdown, did the Eagles flapping the wings in the end zone and stuff? I remember, yeah.
Yep. So
Didn't he fly into the end zone too? Didn't he
Yeah, he jumped in.
do a dive?
So they had 221 against the Patriots, 252 against the Eagles. Then they followed it up with 180 against the Browns the next week and 151 against the Bengals the following week. So that's the only one. But they had another one in the 2000s. They actually had one in 2001, a 4-game streak in 2001.
Let me. I know that season very well, so I'm gonna say it would probably be. I think the Buccaneers were involved. I think the Buccaneers was one of those games.
You were correct. They had 220 yards that game.
And Bettis threw a touchdown pass in that game. And so that was mid-October.
Wasn't that the Paper Champions?
No, that was the next year.
Okay.
No, yeah, that was. No, after
it was
the
Monday
game,
night. Wasn't it Monday night or something?
No,
like
that was 2002. But after that game, Flowers in 2001, Flowers called them Paper Champions then. And then it carried over.
Yeah.
And that's when they were fighting. I'm trying to think who else they played in the middle of that season.
Well, you're going the wrong direction because that was the 4th of the 4 games.
Okay. But that was October, right?
Yep. October 21st, 220 yards. The week before on October 14th was at Kansas City, 203 yards rushing. Before that on October 7th, at home against Cincinnati, 275 rushing yards.
Holy cow.
They only scored 16 points. Okay. Sound familiar? And then the week before that, which was week 3, it was their second game of the season because that was, coming off of everything with
Cincinnati
with 9/11. No, the Cincinnati was the week before. It was at Buffalo. So that Cincinnati game, that 275, you were at that one, weren't you, right?
I was at that game. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
I didn't realize you said Cincinnati then. Yeah.
Yep. So I wasn't. That actually wasn't even going to be what I was going to ask because the last thing is to go further back. There were no streaks in the 90s or 80s of where they had 150 rushing yards in 4 straight games. Guess when the last time was they had 100? And honestly, I forgot to stipulate in the same season. I didn't count it if it ended one season and started the next. They had to be all in the same season. But how long do you think you have to go back in order for them to actually have a streak of 5?
I would have to say 76 because that was the year that we're talking about right now. Jeff, if I'm stepping on your toes, I apologize. But we're talking about it now with the possibility of Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris possibly being able to have 1,000-yard seasons for the first time since Rocky Bleier and Franco Harris did it in 1976.
Well, here's what's crazy about 1976. They had a 4-game streak, then a week off, and then a 5-game streak in the same season. But that's not the most recent. They actually had a 5-game streak early in 1977. They went 5 straight games of 150 rushing yards. That was from the 9th through the 17th. But they only went 3-2 in those games.
Let me say something about that 1976. One of the reasons they ran the ball so well, that was the 6-0 streak of Mike Kruzak, because Bradshaw got Joe Turkey Jones. He got body slammed.
Yeah, but the longest streak of it at all in the same season is actually 75, 10 games.
Man, they were running fools.
Yep.
I didn't realize Najee Harris has 598 and Jaylen Warren has 542 this year so far.
So the average is, I saw this today, 77. I think Faribaugh put this on 77 and like 63, 77 for Jaylen to average over the next, how many games? 6 games. And, for Najee 62, 63, something like that.
Try to make this make sense. Dave, you said 2004 was the last time. So that brings up a lot of great memories of a really great season. And that was a year back when the Steelers played, you were like, we're going to run it right down your freaking throat. And the Steelers are doing that now, but why don't we feel like that? Why don't I feel like that as a fan, like I did in 04 when I was like, you know what, give it to the bus or whoever else was carrying the rock back then. Well, why didn't I just don't feel like that. I hope I do. I hope they run it down their throat this weekend. And I'm like, you know what? This team can run it on anyone. I don't know what the difference is.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the offensive line. I don't know. All right. Good stuff. Dave, were you done?
Oh, yeah. That was
Perfect.
more than enough.
All right, Brian, what's your final thoughts?
All right, something that drives me absolutely crazy, and it's happened this week, and it's the national media, and a lot of fans are coming out and making fun of Pittsburgh fans. And they're making fun of Pittsburgh fans for celebrating 400-yard game. And one of my buddies from another network, from a Fans First Sports network was making fun of me for that today. And I said to him, I said, do you realize that it's been 58 games? He goes, wow, I didn't know that stat. 58 games? I'm like, yeah, 58 games since they've had 400. And it was the game after Matt Canada's gone. And they kind of felt free, and Pittsburgh fans haven't seen this. So you can't make fun of a Steeler fan for celebrating a 400-yard game when it hasn't happened. And when this whole thing about firing Matt Canada at this point was more about hope and getting a team to bond back together again. And if that's something that you see right now, then it's all worth it. So let everybody go ahead and make fun of you for celebrating a little accomplishment like that. Because those little accomplishments, they lead to big accomplishments. Now, a lot of you have unfavorable opinions of Mike Tomlin here. National media and fans from other teams don't understand why you feel that way, because just like they don't understand how important a 400-yard game is after you haven't seen it, because they're not living it here. I'm a Mike Tomlin supporter. I've always been. Sometimes I get frustrated, but I'm a supporter. Well, others aren't. And there's some that would like to see him go. But really, the opinions of the people, whether I think you're right or wrong, I love the fact that you have an opinion, because that is the freedom that we have here. And I appreciate that you have those opinions. I'm going to say, well, like your opinion, however, think about this. And that's how we'll discuss it. I'm never going to tell you your opinion's bad. But when somebody from the outside of the 412 comes in and says, wow, what kind of fans are they? Well, they're fans that have lived just 4 years of garbage, and maybe then some. The Randy Fichtner days where Jeff just joked were so much better than the Matt Canada days, and he's right. That's not a joke. He's right, and they were horrible. They were horrible. So as Steeler fans right now, we feel free. And somebody just said that Big Ben was playing in those 58 games, and it still didn't happen. That just shows you where we are as a franchise, and that's not a bad thing. We're just coming out of a bad stretch that included an 11-0 start and included a couple playoff games. Granted, they didn't win those playoff games, but this is why it's a new era. This is why there's celebration. So that game was a very significant win, just like the game before was a very significant loss in the history of the 2023 Pittsburgh Steelers and beyond, actually. So drink it in and enjoy it.
All right. Dave, final thoughts.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting, because with the national media, weren't they the ones that were basically making fun of the Steelers offense because of that streak? And then the Steelers break the streak, and they're like, why are you excited about that? Now, personally, the over 400 yards thing only matters to me because they won. If they would have lost that game, then I wouldn't have been able to care at all if that would have happened. Just like I didn't care that they weren't reaching 400 yards when they were winning. But what the 400 yards does is it is an indication of a competent offense. And what have Steelers fans just been wanting to see for so long? I mean, we thought we had it in the preseason. Just some competent offense. So I'm ready to sit in my seat in section 122 on Sunday, and I want to watch some competent offense and some stifling defense, and I want to see them go out there and get the job done. This is one of those games that just go out, take care of business, because if you win this one, it's just another tally in the win column. But if you somehow find a way to charger up a game or something like that, as Jeff likes to talk about on his FFSN podcast, then you've gone from a team that seriously should be considered winning, the in contention for the AFC North, to, yeah, this is just a team that's just not quite there. So you just gotta, the Steelers don't have to go out there and blow the doors off or anything. Take care of business. Just make sure you take care of business on Sunday. I'm ready to be there and see it. Go Steelers.
Speaking of taking care of business, make sure you check out all of our podcasts that are found on our audio only feed. Wherever you get your podcast, search Steelers or Steel Curtain Network, and you'll find my Let's Ride podcast. Tomorrow morning, you'll hear Brian on his bad language in the Here We Go show with Coach KT Smith. You'll hear Dave Stat Geek, which ran this morning. Thursday morning, you can still go back and check it out. Great stuff. Only audio only. They're not going to be found on YouTube or anywhere else. So check those out, and make sure you check out steelcurtainnetwork.com, and I'll throw in fansfirstsports.com. We have some really great content on the main page. Go check it out. For a sports fan, we've got something for you. It's good stuff. Make sure you check those out. But that's it for me.
Remember, next week we're going to be really late. Because
next week is the Thursday night game. So
yes,
there's no
exactly.
preview next week. And then following that, we're going to be later going on, probably closer to 9:30 than we have been due to basketball practice. So
yes.
we'll remind you. We'll remind you for sure. So, all right, Dave, why don't you send us out?
Hi.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.